I 21F found out my husband 33M has been having an affair with my mother, and I don't know where to go from here. Sorry, this can be quite a bit to read, however, a lot happened and everything I've written is essential to my situation. I 21F have been married to my husband 33M for a year and 3 months now. We got together when I was 18 and he was 30 while I was a senior in high school. To a lot of people our relationship is taboo, however, I've always been very mature for my age and it's always felt normal to both of us. My mother 40F has always had a soft spot for him, which I appreciated. When she first met him she told me I was so lucky to have an amazing person in my life. Throughout our relationship my mom and him got along fine, which I've always thought may just be from their somewhat closeness in age. However, during our wedding is when I started noticing weird behavior from my mom. On my wedding day, she told me she wished she was the one in the gown today, referring to my wedding dress. I asked her what she meant, and she just started laughing, saying she's had too much to drink. She also suggested her and my husband have a dance together during my wedding. I immediately laughed because I thought it was a joke, however, now of the current circumstances it was clearly not a joke. Further down the line she would start asking me how he was in bed. I told her I didn't feel comfortable talking to her about that, and she said that my aunt was curious. She also started asking my husband sexual questions like what was his favorite position? What are his kinks? If he had ever had a threesome? Genuinely uncomfortable questions that made me grossed out. My suspicions specifically grew throughout the last 3 months. My husband told me my mom asked him to renovate her kitchen. He works in construction and he would be over there after work Monday, Wednesday. When I offered to join him he said it wasn't necessary and that it would be boring for me. When I asked my mom if I should join as well she said I was being a nagging wife asking to come over. However, when he started to visit my mom I noticed sexual changes in our relationship, as when he would come home from work or my mom's he would never be interested in doing it. My suspicions grew further when I visited my mom's place and the kitchen looked the same as before, and when I confronted both of them they said they were still just prepping for the renovation. In this moment I knew something was wrong. I had an urge to know, so I left work early and decided to go by my mom's place and see what was happening. When I arrived I wanted to see what they were up to naturally and didn't want them to be alarmed that I was there. Luckily my mom's place has a lot of windows and you can see nearly every room in the house if you just wander around. When I got to the study's window that's when I saw my husband and mother having sex on her desk. I screamed and cried. When they saw me my mom looked down in complete disbelief while my husband ran out of the room. I wasn't there long but ran to my car and drove off hyperventilating. When I got home I just started to pack some clothes and essentials and wanted to leave. I drove off and my phone started blowing up from my husband, mother, and auntie assuming she knew. I drove to an empty car park and sat there for over 4 hours just crying and listening to music. I decided to return to my husband and I's home, as the tears I let go turned into complete anger and distrust. I wanted to confront him. When I arrived home, he was not there and there was also no sign he had even been at our place. I decided that I needed some sleep and thought that maybe he had just stayed in a motel for the night to give me space. When I woke up the next day I was going to call him, however, I thought to myself that I wasn't ready to speak to him. So I called back my auntie, and she told me that he stayed over at my mother's house to be there for her. My mouth dropped and I couldn't even say a single word. My auntie had to keep asking if I was there. I told her if she could set up a meeting with myself, husband and my mother, and she said she'll pick me up and take me to my mom's house to talk. When my auntie picked me up she said that my mother told her about their affair and she told her to stop. My mother lied to her saying she had, and yesterday straight after I caught them she said my mother told her she'd been still seeing him and that I'd found out. I told my auntie I was disappointed she didn't tell me and that she's lost my trust, and she seemed to have understood that and complied. When we got to their house, my husband had his arm around my mother while she had her head rested on his shoulder. Keep in mind, I caught them a day ago. My mother started crying as soon as she saw me and started hugging my husband. That in itself aggravated me. To keep this from not going any longer, they told me that they want to be together and they hope one day I'll accept them. I literally couldn't even feel anything, so I just started laughing in shock. Even my auntie told my mom she was being ridiculous. They claimed that they'd been in love for a year now and they started sleeping with each other 4 months after my husband and I got married. The craziest claim was that my mother said she sees herself starting a family with him. After they told me everything, I sat in silence for a few minutes, and my mom pleaded that I say something. I couldn't. I asked my auntie in that moment to take me home, and she got her keys and got me out of there immediately. As soon as I got in the car, she hugged me and I started bawling. She said everything was going to be okay and that she was there for me no matter what. She offered that I stay with her, but I just wanted to be alone. It's been a week since that all happened and I've been at home alone just crying and drinking. I even had some really dark thoughts that honestly terrified me to the point I was going to check myself to the hospital. The worst part is that a part of me wishes I never saw them and lived completely oblivious to their affair. I don't have any friends or anyone in my life. The only person I had was my husband, and now that's gone. My mother and I have always had problems in the past, as she blamed my father's suicide on me and even faked a suicide note from him saying it was my fault when I was 12. In a way, I think this is her way at getting back at me for my dad, as she truly believes that I was the reason he decided to end his life because I was an angry tween. My husband sees my mother as forbidden fruit, which is something that I believe men crave, which is why majority of the time they're the ones that cheat. I am now alone and, to be honest, have no clear direction for what's next for me. My husband and I agreed I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, which is something I wanted as well. I don't have any interest in college and have never considered what kind of profession would interest me. I've always just wanted to be a mom and a loving wife, and expected that to become my reality. I'm also not smart at all and have no idea what to do legally from here, so any advice on that would be great. I'm sorry this is so long, as a lot happened and I wanted to provide as much details to my situation as possible. I would never turn to social media. In the past I'd go to husband, but that's now changed and I didn't have anyone else. Any advice or just thoughts would be appreciated. Redheart. I have made an update to this post on the Our Advice subreddit. You can see it on my profile or that subreddit. You were not mature for your age. You were a teenager flattered by the attention. That's not insulting you. You were manipulated by someone who had a decade to practice. Your mother, who should have helped protect you, offered you up to keep her lover happy. Get out, get out, get out. There is a reason that most teenage brides end up wanting a divorce. You can't wake up, but you can get a lawyer and move on from this trap. Lean on your aunt and GTFO. I kinda checked out as soon as you said you were really mature for your age at 18 and married at 30 years old. No, you are not. Your frontal lasagna isn't even fully baked. You have no friends, which isn't a testament of maturity, which is probably why you and your shit mom allowed an older man to groom and prey on you. Take advantage of your aunt's kindness and take those assholes to court for as much as you can while they're in shock. Then go no contact. Instant eye roll when she said she's mature for her age. If she was, she wouldn't have married a 30-year man at 18, lol. Smile frame soft bright touch advise unpack stalking North Pie. This post was mass deleted and anonymized with redact. This is like an AI story of every cliché on this sub.